Let's talk about the Cowboys, Bobby, and why nothing got done as the San Francisco 49ers add Chase Young for a third-round pick. The Commanders also trade Montez Sweat to the Bears for a second-round pick. Josh Dobbs ends up going to the Minnesota Vikings, and the Cowboys come out with their explanation through the local paper.
Yeah, look, they made their move, right? Their moves were Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks, as RJ Choppy just said. That was their moves there. See, the thing that's just completely wrong about that, and that was the argument in the Dallas Morning News yesterday from David Moore. David Moore had the article, "Don't be fooled by Dallas's inactivity at the deadline. Cowboys made their moves months ago." And I understand the argument.
Because people use that same argument for like a first-round draft pick. Like, we drafted our Amari Cooper.
Yes.
We don't have a first-round pick. We already drafted our receiver.
Yeah, and I think that I just don't agree with that take at all.
No, because they're not factored in the cost. And that the problem with that is that's an old school, that's a talent over value philosophy or statement.
I mean, look,
I'll tell you why it doesn't make any sense. Mike Fisher immediately called me yesterday, and he yelled to Marsha, his lovely wife, and he goes,
Meatloaf?
He goes, Marsha, he goes, no Christmas gifts this year. You're not getting anything. And she goes, why? She didn't know the bit going on.
Yeah.
He goes, I got you a Valentine's Day gift.
that counts.
That counts.
Yeah, I got you two Valentine's Day gifts.
I already got you the gift. I don't have to get you one for the next holiday. I did it in the off season.
Look, the off season's the off season. The trade deadline's the trade deadline, and
things change.
Yeah, in fact, the deadline is a completely unique opportunity to make it. You can make moves knowing what your team is. When you're making moves in the offseason, you're making moves based on your projection of what you think your team is or how you think this is all going to come together. The great thing about the deadline, the Rangers took advantage of it. The Rangers were able to assess where they were, what they were looking at with what their team had become, and they said, okay, we've got this opportunity now to get a reset. It's a mulligan, essentially, for roster building.
By the way, do we need a future hour for Chris Young Tolo apologies? I'm writing that down for a big fat receipt.
And when you look at how did every other team, right now, this is the way the playoffs stand right now in the NFC. Eagles 1, Lions 2, Seahawks 3, Falcons 4, Cowboys 5, 49ers 6, Vikings 7. In the last week, you were the only one of those 7 teams who didn't trade for a player. All 6 others traded for something.
The Vikings are in 7th place in the NFC?
Man, look, it's the Creed difference, okay? They've got the tiebreaker right now over the Saints. And so you've got Vikings go ahead and they trade for Josh Dobbs. Seahawks went and got in fact, in a lot of instances, this is going to get Pro Bowl players. Eagles get Kevin Byard. Seahawks get Leonard Williams. 49ers get Chase Young. The Falcons went out yesterday and traded for Kentavious Street. Lions go and get Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like, these other teams made moves, like significant moves, and you said we like our guys.
You know,
execution.
Sidebar of this, the NFL trade deadline is entirely too early in the season. I think it would have been so much better late November, because you have less teams that are still in it.
It's really hard late November though, because I think the idea behind the trade deadline for NFL teams is that with scheme and everything else that you got to get down, if you were to do it in late November, it'd become irrelevant to getting them up to speed.
Just time to learn it. I like that there's more teams involved versus just, you know, your collusion thing. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have more teams to sell that'll be willing to sell in late November. You have so many teams that still would consider themselves in it.
So the Cowboys, and I'm not going to go into all of it. This is kind of what I was going back and forth with Brad Sham yesterday on social media. Everybody knows that the Dallas Cowboys leak a lot of their stories to the Dallas Morning News. Jerry, either he has an affinity for the paper. Look, I think Michael Gehlken is fantastic. I don't have a relationship with David Moore, nor do I care to. And I don't particularly like the Dallas Morning News anyway. They have a partnership with The Ticket. So I just personally, full disclosure, I view, the Dallas Morning News as basically the enemy. So
plus they're a paywall.
Yeah, plus they're a paywall as well. So they go out of their way not to try to go ahead and give the fan or this radio station credit because they have a deal, a paid deal, at least in the past they did, with our top competitor. So everybody knows behind the scenes, including Brad, that the Cowboys leak stuff to David Moore. I like Calvin, too. I like Calvin Watkins over there as well. So when all of a sudden the same exact headline pops up and goes, don't get your panties in a wad, Cowboys fans. We already made our moves. And the other thing was, Bobby, we didn't have anything to trade. What did you want us to trade? We didn't have a 4th, a 5th, or a 6th. Well, I'm sorry. Yesterday, I saw a couple of deals done for a 2 and a 3, not to mention you have a 1 as well. So you don't have to. The rules don't say you have to trade a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th on deadline day. You're allowed to trade a 2nd and a 3rd as well. So that's their spin, and make no mistake about it. Let's just be real. It is spin, and that's fine. That's good for the Dallas Morning News that they get that type of hookup from the Joneses or whoever leaks that information to them. But that is the truth, and that is why I called it a spin job. And Tolos are not happy, big picture, that they did not make a move. You got to have an honest, realistic conversation with yourself. Whether it's your marriage, whether it's your kid advancing, is she an angel? Is she a devil? You got to sit there and say in the room, are we equal or better than San Fran when we're running on all cylinders? And are we equal or better than Philadelphia when we're running on all cylinders? My opinion is you're behind them. And if you're behind them with the team that you have and the timeline that you're on, then you got to do something to try to catch them or surpass them. And they failed to do that.
I mean, that's not just your opinion. That's Jerry's opinion. He told us that 2 weeks ago that they were behind Philadelphia and San Francisco. And he, yesterday...
Maybe that changed, though, with San Fran losing 3 straight.
And then blowing out the Rams.
I mean, maybe it did. I don't know. I mean, I don't have a problem with them not making a move yesterday. I have a problem with them saying that they made their moves in the offseason. I just don't like that spin job, that statement. I don't care that they didn't make a move. I think buying is generally dumb. I think selling is generally good. And I think buying and selling at the same time is generally the best way to go. That's what teams like the Rays. The Rays will buy and sell the deadline. I think you're always recouping and you're always purchasing. And I have no problem.
Importer, exporter.
Right? You buy stock, you sell stock at the same time. I'm totally cool with that. That to me is the ideal way to go. Buy and sell at the same time. I didn't want to give up a 1st or 2nd or 3rd round pick for somebody, unless that person's going to be a top flight quarterback. I don't believe, personally, philosophy, I don't believe any team is one non-quarterback away from winning a Super Bowl.
I think you could have traded a 2nd round pick for Jalen Johnson and the Bears yesterday.
Now, yeah, if you had told me that I could get Patrick Surtain for a high pick, that's an exception I would have made.
Well, and I mean,
because you got control, premium position, yada, yada, yada. I'd have done all that.
I mean, Jalen Johnson would have checked the box that Jerry had talked about yesterday, where Jerry had said, hey, look, if you're going to acquire a player, though, it's probably got to be somebody that's not got complex money that has to be factored into the cap. Jalen Johnson's deal is expiring. He's on a rookie deal. It's through the end of the year. If you trade a 2nd round pick for Jalen Johnson and then you can tag him, I mean, and the Bears would have done that because the Bears went and traded their 2nd round pick for Montez Sweat yesterday. So if they're able to just recoup that, then they look at it as we traded Jalen Johnson for Montez Sweat. Cool, here we are.
What does this do for San Francisco? Chase Young, by the way, the smear job has started in Washington as they leaked some stuff to Michael Silver, the national NFL reporter. Young, according to several Commanders coaches and other sources, was viewed as an undisciplined player who developed bad habits such as deviating from assignments in an effort to make splash plays. He's generated a career high 17% pressure rate this year, though. So now they have 2 of the top 5 defenders in QB pressures this season. Bosa's 4th. Chase Young is 5th. The thing I think of with Chase Young, what's going to happen, where this is going to bite us, there will be a moment, there will be a play in the postseason where Chase Young comes up with a strip sack. Chase Young comes up with a sack, a big play, a pressure, a deflection, some freaky athletic thing in the 4th quarter against us or somebody else, and we'll all be tweeting and back on social media saying, damn it, we knew it.
It'll be Chase Young or it'll be Randy Gregory, Sean. It'll be one of them making the big
Randy
play
Gregory,
for the 49ers.
absolutely.
Here's the thing. The 49ers
Dude,
were...
for real, though, Armstead, Gregory, Bosa, who's the big man they got from Philly? Hargrave, Young.
Yeah, I mean, that's a nasty defensive line. Now, the problem is...
Fred Warner behind them.
There's 5 guys there. Put them all, right?
Yeah, Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw are behind him.
Yeah, they're a...
And they were struggling this year, surprisingly. I saw the numbers yesterday. This was a need. This is not a luxury.
Yeah.
This was a need for San Francisco's defense. They were struggling with pressure.
Yeah, and they were all in yesterday. They had finished a deal. The report was they had finished a deal to trade for Adoree Jackson at corner from the Giants too, and they weren't able to get the call into the league in time. But that was agreed on, finalized, and they wouldn't send it to the league, and it was like, nope, you didn't get it in time. So the 49ers were trying to make moves yesterday, and Philly obviously made moves. Even not just the Byard trade. They went and got draft capital for Kentavious Street. Everybody was doing things to improve. It's just
So Bobby, what is the reality of why they don't and why they didn't? What's the truth?
Yeah, it's not Jerry's not cheap. People are saying, Joe, Jerry just doesn't spend the money. That's garbage.
No,
well, we blame it on Steven. People blame it on Steven.
But even still, they're not cheap.
Not cheap, but I mean, there are accounting headaches that they have to factor in because they are going to have to do some different things probably with Dak's contracts, CD, Micah. Those, it's not that they can't do it, they can't fit it in, but it's going to make it a difficult balancing act of moving stuff around that they probably just don't want to deal with. 1. 2, they've given up day 3 draft capital. They probably don't want to give up any more on day 1 or 2. And I know that the way they say it is, we believe in this team. That's why we're not going to make a deal. I just think logically, when you look at it, I think I think you would, I think not making a move speaks more to your reservations about your team than your belief in them. That's what I think.
Oh, so they think they're further away.
Like, does giving up a second for Jalen Johnson, do I want Jalen Johnson, or would I rather get things straight for the future for things I want to change?
Okay, I mean, that may be the case, but like Jerry doesn't operate like that. Jerry usually operates that this talent is good enough and it's somebody else's problem.
Well, that's what he says.
He never got that phone call.